When someone transitions from being essential to being invisible, it rarely means they lost relevance. More often, it means they possess information others would prefer remain unspoken. In stories of sudden ascent, especially those framed as modern fairy tales, there is always a turning point, a quiet moment where the path changes direction, even if the public doesn't notice at first. For Meghan Markle, that moment arrived in 2016. The widely accepted version of events suggests Prince Harry was interested in meeting someone beyond his usual aristocratic and royal circles. He wasn't looking for a traditional introduction, and he didn't rely on palace staff or family intermediaries. Instead, the connection was made through Marcus Anderson. That detail is often treated as incidental, but it shouldn't be. The meeting didn't happen in public, nor was it the result of coincidence. It occurred within a private member setting, an environment Marcus understood intimately and helped oversee. This was not neutral ground. It was a controlled space, shaped by discretion, influence, and curated access. Marcus wasn't simply present when Meghan and Harry were introduced. He facilitated the connection, guided early communication, and remained involved as the relationship developed quietly, away from scrutiny. In circles like these, the role of an introducer carries real weight. They don't just bring two people together, they provide framing, they influence perception, they decide what background information is highlighted and what details remain unmentioned. That's why the most important question isn't who introduced Meghan to Harry, it's what version of Meghan was introduced and what aspects of her past were left outside the room. To understand why that matters, you have to look beyond the fairy tale and examine how access works at elite levels. Introductions are rarely spontaneous. They are deliberate, strategic, and often calculated. The person making the introduction is staking their own reputation on the outcome, which means they control the narrative from the very beginning. Now fast forward nearly a decade to late 2025. Meghan is preparing to launch a lifestyle brand built entirely around personal narrative. The messaging centers on authenticity, lived experience, values, and self-defined truth. This is the phase where trusted figures from earlier chapters typically re-emerge, people who can reinforce credibility by their presence alone. But one figure is notably absent. Marcus Anderson does not appear in promotional material. He offers no public support. He gives no interviews. There are no cameos, acknowledgments, or behind-the-scenes features. According to individuals familiar with the situation, this absence is not temporary. Marcus is not expected to participate in future projects tied to Meghan's public narrative. The timing is difficult to ignore. His disappearance does not occur during a period of retreat or low visibility. It happens precisely when Meghan's personal story is being positioned at its highest commercial and cultural value. Silence in moments like this is rarely accidental. It represents a decision. Either Marcus chose not to endorse a version of events he could no longer stand behind, or his involvement raised questions the brand could not afford to answer. When authenticity is the product, the presence or removal of key witnesses becomes significant. This is where the story expands beyond a single relationship and into a broader timeline. Years before Meghan met Harry, long before the public narrative begins, there exists a documented moment that quietly reshapes the context. In 2001, a photograph surfaced from a yacht in Phuket, Thailand. In the image is a man widely believed to be Marcus Anderson, standing alongside Prince Andrew. The date matters. The year 2001 predates Meghan's supposed first royal connection by roughly 15 years. The photograph does not prove a relationship. It makes no claims and assigns no motives, but it establishes something that cannot be dismissed. Marcus Anderson had proximity to senior royal figures far earlier than the public story suggests. That single fact introduces a new question. If Marcus was already moving in elite, royal-adjacent environments at the start of the 2000s, then the world Meghan later entered may not have been entirely unfamiliar to her. And once that possibility exists, the official timeline begins to feel incomplete. Before royal headlines and global attention, Meghan Markle was an actress working steadily but modestly. Her resume during the mid-2000s reflects supporting roles and limited financial success. Yet during this same period, she appears in environments that don't align with that professional standing: exclusive European destinations, private yachts, invitation-only gatherings, and elite social settings typically reserved for individuals with significant wealth or influence. This observation is not about judgment, it's about contrast. Access to those spaces doesn't happen randomly. They are not open environments. Entry requires trust, sponsorship, and an insider willing to extend credibility. By that point in time, Marcus Anderson was already embedded in elite networking ecosystems where access was carefully managed and introductions were anything but casual. He worked within private members' clubs designed to operate beyond public view, spaces where actors, financiers, royalty, and industry leaders could interact discreetly. In those environments, relationships are currency, and discretion is the price of admission. Now place the facts side by side. Marcus Anderson is documented in elite circles as early as 2001. Meghan begins appearing in similar social environments years later. Marcus Anderson was never meant to be a visible figure. He didn't build influence through interviews or public recognition. His value came from something far more powerful in elite circles: controlled access. In environments where privacy is currency, the person who decides who enters the room quietly shapes outcomes without ever appearing in the story. Marcus rose through private members' networks that exist specifically to shield powerful individuals from public scrutiny. These spaces brought together entertainers, financiers, executives, and royalty under the promise of discretion. In those settings, Marcus wasn't just present, he curated the room. He decided who belonged, who could be trusted, and who would be introduced at the right moment. Introductions in that world are never random. They are deliberate, strategic, and often life-altering. Careers shift not because of announcements, but because of quiet conversations made possible by the right intermediary. When Meghan entered this environment, it wasn't accidental. She was guided. Marcus understood how influence worked, how visibility could be controlled, and how opportunities could be shaped without leaving a public trail. That's why his absence now carries weight. This wasn't a casual friendship. Meghan once described Marcus publicly as someone she deeply loved, trusted, and relied on, language that signals emotional closeness and long-term significance. And her actions reflected that bond. Marcus appeared consistently at major milestones. He attended celebrations, organized private gatherings, and remained present even when public attention shifted elsewhere. People don't usually vanish from relationships like that without a reason, and they are rarely removed unless their presence creates tension. When someone who knows the full context of a journey is quietly excluded, it suggests a conflict between what happened and what is being presented. Marcus's strength was silence. He protected privacy, staying behind the scenes, and allowed others to step forward. That silence benefited everyone involved, as long as loyalty remained mutual. But when a public narrative moves forward without acknowledging the person who helped shape it, silence stops feeling voluntary. It becomes a burden. Whether Marcus will ever speak publicly remains unknown. He has never sought attention, and he has never shared his version of events. But his absence has changed how his silence is interpreted. It is no longer neutral. It is noticeable. The questions surrounding Meghan's rise from working actress to global figure aren't fading. They are narrowing, and those questions naturally point toward the one person who witnessed the entire trajectory without stepping into the spotlight. People rarely erase the most informed witness to their own story while asking the world to believe that story is complete.
When that witness disappears, the silence itself becomes part of the narrative. Marcus Anderson didn't chase fame, he managed proximity, he controlled access, and when the connector is removed from the picture, the structure behind the story becomes visible. For now, the narrative continues without him, but stories built on omission have a way of returning to what they tried to exclude. Silence can protect, but it can also reveal, and when silence becomes noticeable, it's often because the truth is no longer willing to stay hidden.